So welcome to worship. So we're going to sing This Little Light of Mine, 2 verses. The first verse is This Little Light of Mine, and the second verse is Building Up a World. So sing along with me. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now it's time for the second verse, Building Up a World. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And now it is time for our chalice lighting. And so if you have your chalice at home, I would love for you to light your chalice now. And our chalice lighting today is going to be led by the Good family.
Light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the loving heart. This is the church of the helping hand.
Thank you, Goods. So for our worship today, we are going to be talking about something we're going to talk about all summer, which is our toolbox of faith. And you may notice that I have a construction helmet on and I have a toolbox. And in our opening song, we sang about building up a world. And we are all builders. We are all building the world, and we're not building it with hammers and nails and wrenches necessarily. A lot of times we're building it with kindness and using our gifts to make the world a better place. And that's a pretty big job, making the world a better place. And so how do we do that? How do we learn how to do that? We learn to do that with our faith. And when I think of the word faith, I think of it as strength. Like that's the strength that we use to build the world. And just like we use a toolbox to build a table or a building, we also have a toolbox of strength to make the world a better place. So in my toolbox today, you can see that I have a lot of tools, real tools. And in my toolbox of faith inside of me, I also have tools to help my spirit be strong, to help me build the world. So in the toolbox of faith this morning, I wanted to share our first tool. And this is a ruler. And you know, when you start a building project, the first thing that you have to do is measure everything so that your building project turns out right. Also, a ruler can stand for a very important tool of faith, which is rules. Rules are often the thing that you start with to help you make the world a better place and to be a good person. And I wanted to talk about 2 really important rules today. The first rule is a rule I think you all have heard of, which is called the Golden Rule. And I have actually painted this ruler, I spray painted it gold to stand for the Golden Rule. And the Golden Rule is really old. It's all over the world in all the world's religions. It's existed ever since there was writing. And the Golden Rule is, can you see this? Treat others as you would like them to treat you. And I think of this as the treat rule or the Golden Rule, and this is how you would think about it as the treat rule. You have just opened a delicious ice cream sandwich and you are getting ready to eat it, and someone runs by and grabs it and they eat it instead. Now, we don't have a ice cream sandwich rule. Don't take other people's ice cream sandwiches just as they're about to bite into it. We just use the Golden Rule, which is that if you have an ice cream sandwich, would you like someone to steal it right as you're about ready to bite into it? The answer is no. And the great thing about the golden rule is that it works in all situations. It works, it helps you make a decision about how to do the right thing and how to be kind. And you don't need a very specific rule for every situation. You can just use the golden rule. So I love the golden rule. The other rule that I wanted to share with you is a very special kind of rule that we use in church, which is called covenant. And covenant is really the kinds of rules that you make in communities of people who care about each other. So you have covenants in families, and you have covenant in churches, and any group of people who care about each other. And a covenant is, and this is the word, covenant. A covenant is a set of promises, sincere promises that people who care about each other make to each other. And in the church, we have a covenant which all the adults have to sign when they, that they agree to when they become members, and it's kind of long. And it's just a rule, it's just a set of rules about how to be kind to each other. And with the children on Sunday morning, we have a covenant, a set of rules. Like one set of rules we have is wearing name tags, right? And that is a rule of kindness, which is that we wear name tags so that new people know our names and so that they don't feel left out. We also have a special rule for when we actually meet at church as opposed to home. We have a covenant that says we don't run in the building because the floors are really hard. So as you are thinking about building your strength up to make the world a better place, you start with the tool of rules, and you've got at least 2 rules that you can use. One is the golden rule, which is to treat others as you would have them treat you. And the other is when you're in community, you can have a set of rules, which are your covenant. So we're about to break into small groups. And in the small groups, I'd like you to do 2 things. The first thing is that I'd like you to share joys and sorrows. Everybody will be unmuted and we'll get a chance to talk. And the other thing is that I want you to answer 2 questions. And they're questions about rules. The first question is, I want you to think about rules you have at home which would work really well for our Zoom church. So do you have any rules at home which would help you as we are in this community together on Zoom? So think about your family rules and see if any of them will work for that. And the second question is a little bit, I don't know if everyone will have an answer for this, because some people like rules and some people don't like them at all. But if you have a favorite rule, I would love for you to share it. And my favorite rule is that at my house during dinner, we have no devices. And that is the time of day for sure that we are not on our phones and not on our little game devices. And we just talk to each other. And that is my favorite rule from my house.